We need to balance out the seriousness of life with humor. I think now more than ever, probably. And this morning, we're going to chat to our good friend Nikki Bush, human potential and parenting expert, about encouraging children to develop a sense of humor to help them live life with a lighter touch. Nikki, great to touch base with you again this morning. Hope you are really well. This is such an interesting topic for me because my kids make me laugh so much, and I think humor is a connection between us. But when you talk about developing a sense of humor, are you talking about being able to tell a good joke, or is there a little more to it?
Hi, Graham. Actually, there's so much more to it. And as you just said, there's nothing like the giggling and the laughter of children to reduce our own stress, let alone their own stress. And developing a sense of humor in children really is about helping them to grow their emotional resilience so that they can laugh at the world and laugh at themselves. Life does not unfold in a straight line. And humor is actually something children are not born with. They grow up to learn what is funny and to laugh at themselves. And if they grow up with humor, they will generally grow up to be adults who can laugh at themselves as well, who can deal better with the stress and the difficulties of everyday life. Because, every day we're faced with stuff that's not necessarily what we want, but to be able to laugh it off and to laugh at ourselves is really, really important.
What does a sense of humor enable children to cope better with? How does it actually work?
So failure and disappointment are part of our deal with life. And so it helps them to look at things through a different lens, get a different perspective, and to grasp even unconventional ways of doing things. When we laugh, it's a little bit like when we cry. We kind of defrost, we unfreeze, and that enables us to see life differently, to go beyond the surface of things, maybe even to connect better with others. If you think of your own life, there are times when you have laughed yourself silly till you've cried and you've had a tummy ache. And don't you remember those moments? They are so memorable. And then there's that enjoyment and participation in the playful aspects and the fun side of life, not taking themselves too seriously. I had a mad aunt, and she used to come and babysit us when we were really small, like 4 and 5 years of age. And she used to tell us ghost stories. And the one was about "Give me back my arm." To this day, I remember that. And we laugh, she and I, about this.
I love it. And I think it's a survival mechanism, I think, yes, as adults, but it means you're living in the moment. For me, generally, in those moments that you've identified when you're laughing, it means that you're just sinking into that moment with your child. I'm also blown away by how advanced it feels like my young children's sense of humor actually is. Do you have any tips for developing that sense of humor in the younger kids, those, say, under 5 years old?
Yes, it's so interesting. We need to create this humor-rich environment. Funny stories, funny books, and I'm thinking Roald Dahl and the Twits. I'm thinking of Dr. Seuss with all his rhymes. They make you laugh because they're just different and a bit out of left field. And then silly jokes. They're going to tell you jokes that really aren't very funny. But we have to laugh at their jokes. We have to get hysterical about their jokes. You can try calling Lindsay daddy and get Lindsay to call you mummy. Well, they find that hysterical.
They would. My kids would love that.
And then what about, totally, like, are you stupid? That's not daddy, you're mummy. No. And then tickling children, not to the point of pain, but tickling children and letting them tickle you and making those funny faces, where they stick their tongues out and their fingers in their ears. They love that kind of thing, and those surprises. And so children need us also to guide them in their humor as well. And then let's not forget, by the age of 6, 7, 8, boys particularly get into toilet humor, which they find extremely funny.
I love it. And then it becomes, I think, as the kids grow older, it becomes how you bond with each other, and it becomes kind of those, I call them our little ways, those parts of your relationship that only you get to enjoy with your kids. And I think that the humor really can become the tie that binds. Nikki, this is such an important subject because I think we all need to laugh a little bit more right now. So I'm going to ask you to stick around. We're going to continue our conversation with Nikki Bush in just a bit. we are talking about developing a sense of humor, I suppose, not just in our little ones, but within our own lives as well.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
A little bit earlier in the show, we connected with human potential and parenting expert Nikki Bush, and we've been chatting about the importance of having a sense of humor and how parents can encourage that in their young ones. And Nikki, we're going to dive right back in. Maybe this goes both ways. It helps the children and it helps us. How important is it to laugh with your kids and to let them laugh at and with you as well?
I think laughter, Graham, is the ultimate stress reliever. It's like a good cry. Just let steam. And I think that when you're driving in the car, there's often so much time available, whether it's driving to school, from school, to extramurals, or on holiday, where you can use that time to laugh. Something that we used to do when my kids were younger and we were in a lift club together. We used to play telling a story in a round. And sometimes children's sense of humor can be wacky. It doesn't have to make sense. And I think we need to bear that in mind. They don't have an adult sense of humor yet. So one morning we were driving to school and I start off saying, "Once upon a time." And the little 5-year-old behind me says, "There was a big oak tree." And my son, age 8, next to her says, "And there was a big thunderstorm and lightning struck the tree." And the next 8-year-old little girl said, "And that tree fell across a busy road." My 12-year-old in the front seat said, "And along came a speeding cement truck that smacked into the tree." And before I could get my little piece in, the 5-year-old behind me says, "And out popped a flying squirrel."
as one does.
Made no sense whatsoever. But you know what? At least we arrived at school laughing at the hilarity of the situation rather than crying over the news, because often when you're in the car, you're listening to the news, which is quite serious and often inappropriate for young children. So use the opportunity when they're contained, either at the dinner table, in the bath, or in the car, to just break the ice and chill a little bit.
Also, it inspires creativity. I think there is a very powerful link between humor and creativity, certainly in what goes on in our own brains. For those of us, because, I mean, not all of us are very humorous or find things funny or have that kind of humorous kick within ourselves. For those that might be a little less comfortable with this notion, what other ideas do you have to help us kickstart that sense of humor in our little ones?
Well, let's do something really practical and concrete. And this is something I saw my nephew do with his young children. He lay on the ground in the garden and he got himself completely knotted up in the hose pipe. And then his children had to unknot him. Well, this game went on for about half an hour, 45 minutes. And there was much hilarity because as much as they were trying to unknot him, they were knotting him up. And there was pushing and there was pulling, and it was just too funny for words. And I've never forgotten that. I mean, who would have thought a hose pipe on the grass in the garden, you know, that could be a source of magic, wonder, and surprise. And then I think when we're on holiday, Graham, that's when we are more relaxed and we tend to find things more funny. If you get lost on a journey, it can be really stressful. I mean, I've experienced that with my family. Yet it is actually some of the things that we laugh about the most. Remember when moments can be hugely memorable and be very funny when you recount them and you replay them. I mean, when I was recently on a game drive in the bush, we spent 3 hours in the pouring rain in these ponchos. And you know what? That's probably going to be one of the most memorable moments of that, experience.
Nikki Bush, thank you so much. As always, you are a gem.
Thank you, Graham.
That's our human potential and parenting expert, Nikki Bush. And I want you guys, please, to make sure to get hold of this resource, Future Proof Your Child for the 2020s and beyond. It is brilliant. You can get it at bookstores. You can find it on Nikki's website, which is nikkibush.com. Trust me, if you need help in any area of your life, this is a resource, but Nikki is there. Connect with her. She does respond.